Hi friends, I'm Gio, and welcome to my channel. This week's story is called I Tenderly Held His Cheek and Whispered, "Thank you." I had just finished playing tennis with my best friend, Saad, in a park not far from the dorms when life went insane. Not the cutesy kind of insane you see in TV sitcoms, where they yell at each other because somebody forgot to feed the cat. No, this was the kind in Stephen King horror movies, where the evil clown rips your guts out. Name's Nate Kane. I'm pre-law, but I'd rather be yard. Law was my folks' idea. They convinced me that with my grades and my mind I would make a great lawyer. Besides, they said, lawyers make a lot of money. That's all Mom cared about. Yeah, I was pre-law. Emphasis on the past tense. We'd stopped at a convenience store to get drinks the size of your head. I had a cherry cola. Saad had a root beer cola orange soda combo. He swore it was the best mix. I couldn't stand it. Anyway, I tried to pay, but my card was declined. I tried again. Declined again? Impossible. I always kept the minimum balance so I wouldn't have to pay fees. I had been paid yesterday, so I know there should be $2,000 at least. Maybe my card had worn out. It happens when they get a couple of years old. It's annoying, but nothing to panic over. The card reader could be glitchy too. Hand him your card and he can type it in, Saad suggested, his lips pursing together. His eyebrows bunched close as he studied my card over my shoulder. The attendant typed my card in by hand. This time he frowned. "Still declined. You have another form of payment?" he said, his bored voice tinged with annoyance. My heart rate felt like I was playing tennis again. With trembling hands, I looked in my wallet. I only had $1.37. Not enough for an ice cube. The raw panic in my gut took over for a second. I was paid yesterday, had double-checked this morning. What happened? Another bank glitch? Was this the 7th time since I'd opened the account? Saad sighed as he pulled out his wallet. "Pay me back later." He paused before he took out his card, swiping it without an issue. My stomach clenched. This was no reader glitch, no card issue. There was something wrong with the credit union. We went outside, sipped our cold drinks, and I did what any red-blooded male would do. I checked my credit union's app. The time was 2:55. My checking account had a very good reason why it couldn't fork out the money. The login screen said, "No account found." It must be a mistake. Has to be. None of the previous glitches had been this bad. I tried again, and again, and again. My hands started shaking, barely noticeable at first. I typed every letter, every number, making it perfect, then double-checked, triple-checked. I then typed in my passcode, confirmed it with "See your passcode." Everything was perfect. I read it again, and again, and again. Hit send. No account found. My stomach hit that sour note that shatters glass. I stopped breathing. The true horror became real. Someone had wiped out my life. My knees gave out. Saad gripped my arm, steadying me. He wasn't just supporting my weight. He was holding me together. "Lean on me a minute," he said. My paycheck, my savings, Grandma's inheritance, $10,000, vanished. "It's gone," I whispered. "Everything is gone." The world whirled. Dizzy, a ridiculous word for what I was feeling, but exactly right. "Sit down," Saad ordered, "before you pass out." I collapsed on the ground, feeling sick. No account, no money. How would I pay rent and next semester's tuition? "I've been hacked. All my money is gone," I gasped, breathing too heavy for my lungs to keep up. How could they get your information? Saad asked. I don't know. Everything is double protected, and the credit union forced me to change passwords last January. They've got this new system that requires a new code every 2 years. Could someone have stolen your card? I opened my wallet. It was still there. I have a spare, but I left it with Emery, I said. Emery's my older brother. He still lives at home and is working towards his PhD in theology. Wants to become a priest somewhere. People love him because he's the family saint. Saad sat beside me, placing a comforting arm around me. We're both gay, but only friends, not boyfriends. No benefits either. He never came out to his family. He's afraid to, actually. His dad is pure old school. You have to report this to the police. Saad's voice was sharp, filled with anger. Immediately. Maybe they can do something about it. The vulnerability of my situation washed over me, and it took a moment before the inner chaos calmed enough to think. I have to get to the credit union, I muttered, grateful Saad was with me. Do you want me to come? He asked. No, I said, rising to my feet. I've got this. Saad gave a teasing smile and said, with a broken card, you need me. He called an Uber, and we went to my credit union's closest location, 5 miles away. The Pioneer Trust Credit Union has a branch over on the Maryland Parkway. We entered the winter chill inside the credit union. Seriously, I expected to see frost. They keep this place so cold. You'd expect 2 guys with gym bags and tennis rackets to be somewhat unusual. This is May, in Vegas. Nothing surprises anyone anymore. The people inside glanced at us and then went about their business. When it was my turn, I kept my calm and said, I'm Nate Kane. What happened to all my money? Where are my accounts? Was I hacked? They sat me down with one of the managers, a stern woman named Victoria Langley, who took my debit card and accessed my former account. She stared at me. Her next statement shattered my world. No, it wasn't hacked. It was legally closed. How? Where? Saad asked. Victoria leaned into her monitor, scrolled around with her mouse, and quietly replied, At our Henderson branch. Saad took hold of my arm. Settle down, Nate. Getting angry won't solve this. I froze, then suddenly yelled, I didn't authorize it. It can't be legal. I know, Saad said. Don't be like my dad. I counted to 10, letting my breaths center me. Victoria typed at her screen, a calm smile on her lips as her fingers moved at light speed. She paused on a screen, frowned, and quickly said, May I see photo ID, please? Preferably a driver's license. A statement, not a question. I dumped my wallet on the desk and whipped out every card I had. Driver's license, school ID, debit card, credit card, library card, rewards card at the mini-mart. I laid them out in front of her. She glanced at them all, focusing a second longer on the driver's license and the school ID, both of which had my picture on them. She compared the pictures to each other, then something on her screen only she could see. Then she looked at me. Victoria looked back at the screen and typed something. Excuse me a moment, Mr. Kane. Victoria stood abruptly, her expression unreadable. She left without another word. It was 3:15. Had it only been 20 minutes since my life had fallen apart? It felt like a full day had passed. What's going on? Saad quietly asked. The clock on the wall ticked. Too slow. Too loud. Saad shifted beside me, the fabric of his jacket rustling in the stillness. I swallowed. My throat was dry, like swallowing sand. Was she coming back with answers? Or something worse? I needed answers, but I wasn't sure I wanted the ones I was about to get. The clock's next tick was like a gunshot in the silence. Saad checked the time on his phone. Swiped some app, but I barely noticed. My whole world was shrinking down to the space between my ribs, where my breath felt trapped. Then at 3:30, the text from Mom. "Where's your money?" Saad glanced at my phone. "How did your mom know I was missing? Is she psychic?" "Spooky." "Yeah," I agreed, and replied to Mom's text with a simple IDK. Victoria walked back to her desk carrying a dozen papers. She wasn't alone. An older man in a dark blue suit and black tie trailed her. He leaned over me on the desk, looked at my driver's license, then at me. His frown matched Victoria's. With a calm professionalism that made me want to scream, she placed the papers down, took a seat, and faced me. I've double-checked and spoke with my supervisor in Milwaukee. According to the account, it was legally accessed at 2:33 this afternoon at our Henderson branch. The money withdrawn and subsequently closed by 2:45. Saad spoke up. "That's when we were playing tennis. Remember that video I took of you showing off that new racket and how well it hits? Its timestamp is from around then. Nate wasn't even close to a credit union." "And you must be present to close any account," the man said, folding his arms. He stepped to the side so he could view both Victoria and me. "Who accessed my account? It's a joint account with my parents. Was it them?" I asked. The man glanced at Victoria, his voice growing colder. "Mr. Kane, I need you to sign this." Victoria handed me a signature sheet and a pen. I signed it and handed it back to her. Victoria looked at it, compared it to something on her screen. "It's identical." I barely kept the anxiety in check, but I did. "So, my signature is identical to my own signature." "Show him," the man ordered, but his tone had a darker edge to it. "Mr. Kane, no, it wasn't your parents," Victoria said, her voice softening a little. She slid one of the papers toward me. "As is customary for any withdrawal, a signature is required. Is this your signature?" The paper was a printed electronic form for a large withdrawal. The signature was mine, or mostly. Some parts slanted more. It was forged, but close enough that most people wouldn't know the difference. A heartbeat later, the lump in my chest hit. I settled down, took the paper, and looked again. "It can't be. How? I didn't do this. I do all my banking online. It wasn't me." Victoria gave me a somber smile. "We believe you. I want to show you the video of the transaction. Maybe you recognize this person." She turned the monitor to face me, clicked on a couple of links, and opened a window. It played a video. A man walked up, smiling, but his hands jittered. He looked like me. Too much like me. He kept checking his phone. A phone with a "Young the Giant" sticker on the back. Only one man I knew had gone to their concert. He wore one of my baseball caps and my Golden Nugget tee I bought last summer when they played in an off-season tournament at the Cox Pavilion. 5 of us had gone. Me, Saad, Emery, and my brother's best friend. The man in the security was someone I knew too well. I stared at the screen, frozen. That wasn't me. It couldn't be me. But my hat, my shirt, the way he stood, almost practiced, almost perfect. I clenched the chair arms, my stomach twisted, my lungs tight. The man in the security video was someone I knew too well. It was him. No, not him. It couldn't be him. It wasn't possible. It had to be a trick of the light, a bad angle, a glitch in the recording. Anything but the truth staring me in the face. Jordan. The boy I crushed on back in high school. The guy whose laugh once made my chest ache. My brother's best friend. And now he'd stolen everything I had. The senior I secretly loved back in high school was the man in the credit union security video. Jordan had styled his hair like mine, wore my clothes, and looked enough like me to fool a credit union teller. She must have asked for a driver's license. Jordan barely hesitated before flashing one, probably his own, keeping his movements quick, confident. The teller barely glanced at it. Whether she was distracted or just didn't care, she processed the request, and just like that, my account was gone. It made sense. When I had gone down to Henderson on Christmas break, a bunch of us had gotten drunk and played some stupid game where we mimicked each other's handwriting. Jordan had won. Nobody had thought anything of it. Not then. But I did now. "That's Jordan. I thought we were friends. Why?" I whispered. My hands moved without me telling them to. My phone was out, on speaker, and ringing before anyone could say anything. "Is that wise? You should let the police handle this," Saad asked, just as Jordan picked up. As angry as I was, I channeled Saad's calmness. "What did you do?" Jordan had picked up on this second ring. "That was fast, Nate. Emery and me just barely got home." Jordan's voice twitched, and his breath was shallow. "Nate, I'm really glad you called. I know you're furious. I would be too, but let me explain." Victoria gathered the papers, placing them in a drawer, and I put my phone in the center of the desk so we all could hear. The man pulled out his phone and began recording. "Jordan, before you continue, Nate, his friend, Saad, Victoria, one of our managers, and me, I'm in charge of security, are all here listening. I am recording the conversation, which may be used in legal proceedings if we decide to go that route." My phone buzzed with an incoming text. I leaned in to preview it. Mom again. It began with, "What happened to your—" I'd read it later. This was more important. A second text followed the first. Mom yet again. It only said, "Call me when you get this." I shrugged my shoulders to say sorry to the others. Out loud, I said, "Why did you steal my money?" Jordan hesitated. I imagined him swallowing, maybe starting to sweat as he realized the seriousness of what he did. Then finally, "Let me explain," Jordan said. "I have your money in my hand. It's a credit union check I was going to give you as soon as I could. I tried calling, your brother tried calling, but no one could get a hold of you." I put my phone on Do Not Disturb mode so I could play tennis, I said, then turned to Victoria to explain. "I've set it up so I can get emergency texts from my job, Mom, Dad. Does this have something to do with Mom? She won't stop texting." "Don't call her," Jordan interrupted. "Whatever you do, don't talk to her. She started all this." "What do you mean?" the security officer asked. "I went over to see Emery this morning, but he wasn't back from class yet, so your mom let me wait in his room. She must have forgotten I was there because she took a call. It was from her bookie, and he wanted her to pay up. She owed 10 grand. She begged for more time, pleaded for mercy, promised she'd have the money with interest. The guy wouldn't hear of it. He told her that she had until 8 tonight. She said you had some money, and she had access to your account, but she'd get the money this afternoon and meet him later." I blinked once, twice. Did I hear that right? Did Jordan really say that? My mother. My own mother. My own flesh and blood. Everything in me screamed denial. I couldn't ignore the way my stomach twisted into a knot of cold nausea. "Wait, your mom has a bookie?" Saad's voice sharpened. He tensed beside me, his breath sharp, like he was waiting for me to explode. "And then what?" Victoria asked. Jordan's voice caught, faltering for just a second, but he kept going. I couldn't let her do that, not to you. When Emery got home, I told him about the conversation. You know how he is. He'll drop anything to help, especially his kid brother. I turned to Saad, dumbfounded, a lump forming in my throat. That's Emery for you, I murmured. We didn't know when your mom would go to the credit union, and Emery came up with this stupid plan to close your account so your mom couldn't get the money. Victoria scribbled a few notes on a pad of paper. The security officer stepped out, leaving his phone behind to record us. I don't know if this is important. Victoria looked at my phone, pursed her lips, and when she spoke, her voice resumed her professional edge. Jordan, I appreciate your actions and concern, but you could have stayed quiet or gone straight to the police with your allegations, even contacted us since you couldn't reach Nate. Why didn't you? Jordan exhaled slowly, almost unsteadily. I panicked. I'm in love with Nate. The words came out raw, like they cost him something to say. I only wanted to protect you, Nate. I'm sorry. His tone became a whisper, broke as he stumbled over the words, momentarily blocked by unshed tears. Jordan, loved me? I tried to process it, but my brain was already drowning. The past 5 minutes had taken everything I thought I knew and shattered it into jagged pieces. My mother, the money, the account, the lies. And now this. I felt weightless, like if I moved even slightly, I'd fall straight through the floor. Saad gripped the table, looking away. Victoria typed into her keyboard, taking notes, I suppose. The security officer came back into the room and cleared his throat. Normally, fraud like this gets an immediate police report, but given the circumstances, I'll wait to see how this plays out. The police? An iron anvil slammed into my skull. I shut my eyes, forcing peace where there wasn't any. I sure as hell wasn't ready for this. Jordan was gay? Did Emery know? He loved me? 100 questions popped like popcorn into my brain. My mind, already overwhelmed, came to a complete halt. Jordan loved me? I had known him for years, crushed on him back in high school, was too afraid to say anything because he was my brother's friend. Jordan loved me? He had destroyed my account. I should hate him. I should scream, get angry, pull a tantrum like a 2-year-old. But I didn't. He had done all of this because he loved me? He was trying to protect me by making sure my mother didn't steal what I had saved? Jordan loved me? I can't think about that right now. If what he said was true, then Jordan wasn't the only one with secrets. Mom had bigger ones. I glanced at the phone before I spoke. You never said anything. My voice came out tender, soft, quiet. You're the brother of my best friend. How would it look? He said. I wanted to tell you for a long time, but you went off to college, started your own life. You were happy. It's one of my regrets. The security officer took over the conversation. What you did, even if it was for the best reasons, is considered financial fraud, identity theft, unauthorized account closure, forgery, and misrepresentation involving impersonation of a person with the intention to mislead a financial institution. Each offense listed is a federal crime and could result in imprisonment, depending on legal proceedings. Since you came clean and will return the money, it mitigates the circumstances in your favor. I'll bring it over right now, Jordan said. Nate? Yes, I said. You have to promise me you'll put it in a new account with no one but you having access to it, Jordan pleaded. And then his voice went quiet. I mean it. I do love you. Emery broke in, his voice strained and weary. I'd hoped you'd never find out about Mom. We'll be there soon. He hung up before I could ask him what he meant. The security officer's voice dropped, his tone grave. Something in his expression made my stomach knot. At 3:15, somebody tried accessing your account. Same branch. We have security footage. Victoria brought up the security footage. Same Henderson branch. Almost the same angle. Mom walked in, polished as ever. Black pencil skirt, tailored crimson blazer, silk blouse crisp beneath it. She looked composed. She looked in control. Until she wasn't. She wore her lucky earrings, opal studs Dad had given her on their first anniversary. She looked taller, wearing 3-inch crimson heels that matched her blazer. When it was her turn in line, she handed the attendant a card. Mom had a card to my account. She had convinced me to make a joint account with her in case of emergencies. It had been her emergency. My heart turned to granite. The attendant helping my mom must have just told her that the account was closed. My throat tightened. It was hard to speak. Tears burned in my eyes. I had been holding my breath. Too long. I exhaled, but it didn't feel like relief. Saad softly said, "I'm sorry." Mom started yelling, shoving the card into her designer purse. A security officer came over, and I imagined him saying, "Can I help you?" How long had she been secretly accessing my account? Was she the banking glitch I had experienced for the last few years? That meant she'd been doing this a long time. Too long. Too damn long. I couldn't unsee it. Mom, swearing, shoving her card away like it had personally betrayed her. The security guard stepping back, the sharp snap of her heels against the tile as she stormed out. She hadn't been shocked. She had been furious. This wasn't desperation. It was expectation. She had already decided my money was hers, and I had never seen it coming. I exhaled, but it wasn't relief. Jordan had been right. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Mom. "Call me, 911. I didn't respond. It was 3:40, the longest 45 minutes of my life. The security officer in his calm, professional voice said, "May I see her texts?" I picked up the phone, hesitant about what Mom had sent. Unlocking the phone, both me and the security officer read them together. They were vague, except the last one. "Why aren't you answering? What's wrong with your account? Why doesn't it exist? I need a loan right now. I promise to pay it back." He screenshot every text, then said, "We'll wait until Jordan and Emery get here before we continue. Victoria, stay with them. I need to make some phone calls. I recommend you contact a lawyer." "While we wait for your friends, let's create a new account," Victoria said, her calm precision pushing my anxiety into the background. "Let me show you the options." Saad shifted his chair a little closer to mine. "Don't worry, we've got this." Mom texted 4 times before Jordan and Emery arrived. It was 3:50. Jordan's eyes were red and bloodshot, his face pale. His hands couldn't stay still, plunging into pockets to grab his keys, pulling his wallet out, looking at it, and then shoving it back in his pocket. Emery didn't look up at first. When he finally did, his eyes were rimmed with something raw. Grief, or guilt, or both. The awkward silence hung between us, painful and raw. I said, "Hi, you remember my friend Saad?" Emery walked to me and hugged me. "You holding up?" "As best I can," I said, holding him at arm's distance a moment before hugging him. "What is going on?" Something I'd hoped you'd never know about, Emery replied. He let go of me and led me to Jordan. Jordan kept his head low, glancing up as I approached. This isn't the first time Mom's gambled and lost, Emery continued, dipping into whatever she could find to pay her debts. It's usually small amounts she can sneak back into the account before anyone noticed. It's why Dad's maintained separate accounts for years. We'll talk more tonight. I think you need to talk to Jordan now. What do you say to a man who admitted he loves you? A simple, how's it hanging? Jordan still wore my clothes, and he clutched a bank envelope in his hand. He held it out to me and said, I'm sorry. I didn't know what else to do. I took the bank check from him. Victoria took it from me, and then the security officer brought in more chairs. Before we talk charges, he said, his tone crisp and cold, I'd like to hear the story. I'll be recording it for potential criminal proceedings. His phone was still on record, still sitting in the middle of the desk. Jordan paled. I don't think he realized the consequences until that moment. He took a seat, pleaded with his eyes for me to understand. When he spoke, his voice was surprisingly firm, as if held under iron control. This is what I heard. I didn't get the beginning, but I recorded enough. He scrolled through a couple of screens on his phone and hit play. Mom's voice. I'll get the money for you. I just need time. A pause as someone shouted on her phone. A man's voice, but it was too faint to make out any words. Mom again. Lozaro, I'm begging you. I can get the money. I'm an authorized user on my son's account. I'll use that to pay my debt. Lozaro said something we couldn't hear. My breath hitched. No second guesses, no hesitations. She had decided my money was hers. I wanted to deny it, to believe this was some desperate mistake, some misunderstanding I could fix. But then I heard it. Not an apology, not regret, just certainty. Mom. Nate trusts me. If I say it's a bank error or a car payment, he'll believe it. Besides, he has every other time. I'm his mother. He doesn't question. He's dumb like that. My fingers clenched into fists. My stomach curled into itself, an ache so deep it felt permanent. I'd had a lot of bank errors since I set up this account. A few $100s vanishing from my account, only to show up a couple of days later. Mom said not to worry. Glitches are normal. Blood doesn't matter. Only numbers did. This time, Lozaro's voice was legible. How much? And Mom said, Nate has more than 10 grand saved. That's enough to pay what I owe you. My foot started tapping under the desk. A dark void opened inside me. Pain like I hadn't known filled my soul. Betrayal. The feeling matched the bitterness of the word. Lozaro said, How soon can you get it? Mom. He has an account at the credit union. I'll get my things and leave immediately. Lozaro said something we couldn't make out. Then Mom said, That's not necessary. I'll get it done, but I can meet you at 4:30? He banks at Pioneer Trust. The recording ended. That's all, Jordan said. His gaze unflinchingly met mine. Mom hadn't hesitated, hadn't even wavered. She planned to steal from me, and it didn't mean anything to her. I was nothing more than a balance sheet, a convenient solution. Blood didn't matter. Only numbers. Is that why she wanted me to go into law? Because they make 6 figures, drive the nice cars, and live in penthouses? Add funding their mom's gambling addiction. She should have gotten to the credit union before you, Saad said. Jordan shrugged. Maybe she couldn't find the card right away, or maybe she stalled, or had second thoughts. I don't know. Emery's ringtone trilled. He looked at his phone and mumbled, "Unknown number." He stepped away to take the call. Jordan turned to the security officer. His legs shook. His voice wavered. "I know what I did broke the law, and I'm sorry. I'm willing to face the consequences." He almost couldn't finish the sentence. Should I stand? Should I go to him? Jordan loved me, yet he had stole from me, but he had protected me. Victoria leaned back in her chair and stretched. "Don't worry, Nate. The money is safely tucked away in a new checking account. I'll give you the number so you can adjust your auto pay." The security officer's professional mask didn't change. He turned to Jordan. "I have the basics, but I'll need a formal statement." Jordan's eyes welled up, and he froze. Didn't even breathe. A terrified statue painted to look human. He looked so pathetic, wearing my wrinkled clothes, his hair mussed up, his face smudged. Jordan protected me out of love, no matter the cost. Had anyone ever loved me like that? I couldn't resist. I went over to him, wrapped my arms about him, and whispered, "We'll figure this out. Together." A noise interrupted us. Emery's voice raising in alarm. "No, I don't authorize it," Emery said. I glanced his way. My older brother had gone pale. He walked back to us, phone still on. His breath faltered, barely making it past his lips. "Mom is trying to access my accounts at the Tropicana branch right this second. I don't know where she got the account numbers. They aren't even mine. It's the partial scholarship the parishioners donated so I could become a priest." Emery stopped just inches from us. A priest. That's what he wanted to be. What he had worked for. And now that future might be gone? The shock in his eyes told of loss. "Put it on speaker," the security officer said. Emery did. The security officer took over. "We're at the Maryland Parkway branch, handling a security issue. Can you confirm the situation at Tropicana?" "Yes, sir," a woman said, her voice slowing as if she were being cautious. "A woman here is claiming she has access to Emery Kane's accounts, even had a card and knew the passcode. Normally, amounts under $1,000 wouldn't raise a flag, but she is requesting $10,000. Her voice dipped lower. "As Emery is the primary account holder, we needed to verify before proceeding." "She must have searched my room." Emery's voice low. I'd never heard disgust in my big brother's voice before, but it was dripping with it. Mom hadn't just tried stealing from him, but she was taking all the parish donations to help pay for his theology classes. A second call came in on Emery's phone. We all leaned over to look at it. Mom. The security officer said, "Let's all hear this." Emery answered, saying, "Just a second, I'm putting this on speaker." He hesitated a heartbeat before placing his phone in the middle of the table. "Emery," Mom dove right in, her voice rapid, accusing, "Unlock your accounts. I need to make a withdrawal." "Why don't you use Nate's?" Saad replied. "I can't. His card doesn't work," she yelled. "This is important. I need the money. I'll pay you back, I promise." "Of course it doesn't work, Mom," I said, letting the chill in my heart echo in my voice. "Those accounts don't exist anymore, thanks to Jordan. I'm glad he did it." Jordan, still in my arms, stared at me, his eyes wet. "I'm sorry. Please forgive me." His whisper broke as a ragged sob tried to escape. I pulled him close, his head into my shoulder, feeling the emotion stiffen his spine. Would I forgive him? The last hour had been hell, but it wasn't his fault. Not really. Jordan didn't need forgiveness. He'd been in an impossible situation, doing the best he could. What he had done, misguided as it was, had been out of love. Something tender woke inside me. "Emery, is Nate with you?" Mom's voice rose, but it remained steady, confident. "I need the money. Your grandmother, She needs emergency surgery. She's in the emergency room, and they won't do anything until I provide a down payment. Saad glanced at the security officer, pursed his lips, and dove in. Somebody doesn't know what they're talking about, Saad said, rolling his eyes. My mom's a nurse at Desert Springs Hospital Medical Center, and emergency patients are wheeled right in. Time is critical for survival. Finances are discussed later with the families in the waiting room, not with the person unconscious from a heart attack. That would be stupid. Assuming your grandmother is 65, she's on Medicare, and what Medicare won't cover is billed as much as 6 weeks later. Emery and I looked at each other. Nobody can find her Medicare card, so they're waiting on the money to get started, Mom said, her voice mellowing, becoming sweet. Please, I'd have your dad get it from his accounts, but I can't reach him. The security officer stepped away for a moment. He briefly spoke with a woman in the next office. I couldn't hear what they said, but he returned a moment later, his mouth set, cold. I've heard enough, Emery said, his voice shifting into his calm, priest-like tone. Give it up, Mom. Dad kept you off the accounts because of your gambling. We all know about Lozaro and how you tried to steal from Nate. That's his tuition and his rent. You would have devastated his finances, ruined his credit. For what? A good time at the slots? Or was it blackjack? I broke in, still holding a trembling Jordan. Then you tried to take the money from Emery's account? That's not just his savings. It's a trust for him to become a priest. You're stealing from the people who donated to it. With a deep, almost weary sigh, Emery folded his arms. On the way over, I let Dad know about the trouble Nate was having, about what Jordan had recorded. Dad didn't take it well. He's on his way over to help the accounts get untangled, see if Nate needs a hand until things get settled. He'll help with next semester tuition if need be. Mom screeched, the phone distorting. You told your father about this? You had no right. He had every right, a firm voice replied from outside the small room we were all clustered in. You promised me you'd never gamble again, and look at the mess you've made of our family. Nate, Emery, you okay? Yeah, Dad, we both said as one. Jordan let go of me, facing my dad, though he couldn't meet the man in the eyes. Jordan, Dad said, I'm sorry you had to go through this, but thank you for protecting my son. I'll help pay for a lawyer if you need one. Mom took a breath and restarted. If you hadn't kept the accounts in your name only, this would never have happened. It's your fault. This is a marriage. Half that money is mine. This is financial abuse. I deserve that money. So you can ruin us like you almost did 15 years ago, Dad said. You broke your promise, and I have a feeling you've broken it a lot. That's something we will talk about later. It will have to wait, the security officer said. I've requested the police escort your wife to their station for questioning. On what charges? I'm innocent. You didn't allow me to take any money, so you can't hold me, Mom yelled. The security officer began ticking off charges by raising his fingers. Going through your son's room and taking his cards constitutes theft. Using said cards to access his account for financial gain is a felony, as well as identity theft and financial fraud. You tried to do the same with your other son's account. Similar list of possible charges. If anyone needs a lawyer, I'd say it's you. But I need the money, Mom said, the confidence in her voice vanishing, to be replaced by a sorrowful resignation. Lozaro has a temper if he doesn't get his money. Please, just this once, I promise I'll never gamble again. The phone hung up from Mom's end. I guess the police had arrived. I pictured my mom being led out to a squad car in handcuffs. Mom wasn't the woman I thought I knew. I should have been sad, but I wasn't. I was safe. Emery was safe. I owed Saad for standing by me. But what about Jordan? It might be weird, but I could give him a chance. It was 4 o'clock. 1 hour and 5 minutes since I couldn't access my account. I led Jordan outside and said, "I think we need to talk." Jordan avoided looking at me, checking out something behind me. "I almost destroyed your life. I should have handled this smarter, but I wasn't thinking. I just wanted to save you. Can you ever forgive me?" I stood slightly back, folded my arms, pursed my lips as if thinking. Buy me dinner, Peking budget gourmet, anything I want. I gave him the flirtiest smile I could and carefully walked my fingers up his chest. He glanced at my fingers, his mouth slightly opening, his eyebrows lowering. "Then we'll be all right?" "After you take me out for drinks and dancing." Saad ran over, draping his arms on each of us, and said to me, "Would you just shut up and kiss him?" I tenderly held Jordan's cheek and whispered, "Thank you for today." Then I kissed him. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I'm Gio, writer and narrator and whatever of this piece. Copilot was the editor. Thank you, everybody, for being with me, and thank you for your prayers and well wishes. I'm doing much, much better. I love you all. Peace, my friends.